And we're back.
And we are back, and we're moving into our third discussion for this morning. And we have with us team leader from the EU delegation to Belize, Mr. Nicolas Hansman, to speak about Europe Day and just the state of the EU-Belize Cooperation and observing Europe Day. Good morning, Mr. Hansman, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Brighton. Good morning, Maleni. Thank you very much for having the European Union at your program, and happy to answer your questions.
Awesome. So Europe Day 2021, what is it all about and what can we expect to hear and see for Europe Day?
Yes, the 9th of May, last Sunday, all the European countries celebrated the Europe Day, which was started, or we think of having started that with a speech of the Minister of Exterior of France back in 1950, where he claimed for a Europe of peace, and he proposed to merge the important coal and steel industries together, especially between Germany and France, but also included Belgium and Netherlands and Luxembourg. And obviously Italy joined to that later on. So that is a little bit the start of the very first beginnings of the European Union, as we know it by now, 71 years ago. And this day of this speech is remembered, and the reason why the 9th of May was then declared of the Europe Day, celebrated by all European countries.
The European Union has been a critical partner in many of Belize's development, from the banana accompanying measures to the sugar accompanying measures, as well as the Economic Development Fund. Can you speak to us on some of the ongoing and existing projects that the EU is working in partnership with Belize at this present moment?
Yes, sure. Evidently, it's a partnership of over 30 years with Belize, and many projects have been implemented by now. The overall amount is around 200 million euros, and evidently almost half of it was spent under the banana and sugar measurements during the last decade. We are coming to an end with these programs. I think in most of this implementation period, we can be very happy and proud of the results which have been reached. But I also want to remember that in many other sectors and regions of Belize, the European Union has been a long-standing partner with not only with a lot of grant funds, but also technical assistance, and to develop sector policies in health, in education, in agriculture, in trade, and building roads and
infrastructure.
And so on. Yes.
That was going to be my, that's one of the things I'm interested in finding out more about, in identifying areas for cooperation. Because the scope of partnerships that we've had with the EU over the years, you're very right. It goes from agriculture, when you're talking about banana and sugar, to infrastructure work, and even most recent, looking at things like gender-based violence with the Spotlight Initiative. How do you identify these priority areas?
Yes, well, it is a bilateral dialogue.
Yes.
Quite permanent between, on the highest level, between the ambassador of the European Union posted in Jamaica, but responsible covering Belize, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and even the last visit of our ambassador Marianne van Steen in February to Belize, she met the Prime Minister, the new Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and they agree in general terms the scope, volume and the sectors of our cooperation. So while I talked about the banana and sugar measurements. That was an offer from the European Union to balance out the losses of trade because the European Union changed the system of tariffs and import quota for banana and sugar. So this 100 million, which we always talk about, to the banana and the sugar area was an offer from the European Union. The other projects, still 100 million, and all what is still to come, is identified in bilateral talks on the highest level. Then once these, we call it the national indicative programs, they have periods of 7 years and financial volumes of 20 to 30 million euros. Once this is agreed on that level, then technicians like myself, for example, we start to connect to the line ministries, be it agriculture, be it Ministry of Infrastructure, Ministry of Health and Wellness, and we identify jointly concrete actions, like, for example, the ongoing programs in energy and health. In health, we refurbish the 6 major health facilities in this country, from Dandriga to Corozal, the Central Medical Laboratory in Belize City, for example, as a backbone facility. So these refurbishments to be, in this case, climate resilient, and that is then identified on a technical level. Contracts are done, monitoring is done, evaluation, and so the concrete project work starts.
One of the things I wanted to touch on is, with the advent of Britain leaving the European Union, and that being one of the countries, the United Kingdom being one of the countries that we export to majority of the times, with approximately $84.9 million in export in 2019. How has the European Union and Belize discussed expanding trade with other European member countries?
Well, very interesting question. I think this is one of challenges and first tasks of this new government, to verify how trade relations with European countries and the UK will be done in the future. Evidently, for the moment, due to the trade agreement between the United Kingdom and the European Union after Brexit, there shouldn't be too much of a change of exports of Belize to UK and further exporting to European countries. But these trade relations with the European Union will probably need to be revised, and the specific sectors, for example, bananas, or also fisheries for fish and conch and lobsters, they need to verify new conditionalities in the trade with European countries. While I would think that trade agreements with the United Kingdom is an easier task for the government to rearrange to the new situation.
Yeah. Can you speak to us about some of what we can be expecting throughout the celebration of European Day in our country?
Well, look, there's no specific celebration foreseen for Belize. Even in many other countries, the celebrations are virtual due to the COVID crisis.
Yeah.
So it is on Facebook and other social media. The delegation, my delegation, which is seated in Kingston, Jamaica, had an interesting program on Sunday, because the 9th of May, the Europe Day, is past already 2 days. But due to the COVID restrictions, there have been very little public and public gatherings or parties more in social media, and I invite all interested persons to Google a little bit on this Europe Day. There are very interesting things on the social media, clips about the very different culture in Europe, stories from young persons, Europeans, what they expect in the future, but also from other countries, their quiz, so that is very interesting. For Belize, we have not foreseen something specific, but we hope very much that COVID restrictions will be less and less, and probably during the next mission of the ambassador to Belize, some public events and could be arranged.
Is there a new ambassador in place as yet?
Yes, right, Marlene. The new ambassador is Ms. Marianne van Steen, and she started her duty in September last year, but everything was very complicated to move from the country where she was posted before in Ecuador via Brussels. You remember the travel restrictions.
Yes.
But she managed to visit Belize already in February. She met Prime Minister Briceño and Foreign Minister Courtney, also some of our partners here in the Ministry of Health and Energy. So she is already warmed up with Belize and waiting for the next mission to come here, and hopefully we will have some nice events here, for example, inaugurations, or for example, agreeing the new partnership between Belize and the European Union, which is due to be officialized, I would say, around August, September, October, at the end of the year.
I was just going to ask something along that sort. Has the economic partnership agreement been revisited between Belize and the EU, particularly looking at tariffs on goods and how we could ease some of the expenditures that we see there?
Well, the partnership is between the Caribbean region and the European Union. And Brighton, you are right. The Belize is probably not making sufficient use of the possibilities and the potential to engage more in this EPA program. On the other hand, we are currently identifying with the government the activities and the partnership between the European Union and Belize for the period 2021-2027. And within this dialogue, probably trade will be an important topic that has to be discussed and still to be identified in the final stage and agreed with the government. And you know much better than I do that that we don't have easy times in Belize for many reasons. And so the government will surely identify those sectors of more where our European support is better placed than in others, and we are just in this process.
I have one final question for you. What has the discussion been like in terms of tourism? Tourism is Belize's #1 income or revenue generator. What has the discussions been like within the European Union to bolster tourism 2021, considering the impact it has had because of the pandemic?
As you probably follow the news in Europe, it is still not the moment of promoting international tourism. I think that is the line of most of the European governments, and So I would expect that at least the part of the European tourists in Belize that will still last some good month, probably recently coming back next year. That is luckily not the case for the American part of tourism. I think they maintained a certain level of incoming tourists over the last month, and it is we can expect that the situation in the United States is they overcome the COVID crisis easier and more quickly than the Europeans. So hopefully this is could be a good sign for Belize in all terms, and I hope for that. But in Europe, you know that most of the countries have still quite strict COVID restrictions, lockdowns, restriction of movements, because the situation is not resolved yet.
Yeah, definitely so. Well, Nicolas, we are happy that you joined us this morning to be able to put into perspective the relationship that we do have with the European Union and, of course, about some of the possibilities on the horizon. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Marlene Brighton. That has been very nice, and have a good day.
All right, and you stay safe.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.